everyone. My name is Allison Francis, editor at Channel Futures and Channel Partners, and your host for today's It's 501 Somewhere. I have the pleasure of grabbing drinks with John Groves, CEO of Logicalis. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Allison. It's good to be here.
Yeah. What are you drinking?
Well, it's good to be here with a drink, I guess is the better way.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
What are you drinking?
Oh, see, I want to tell you, but then when you see how big the glass is, there's probably going to be a lot of judgment. But
No judgment.
so I'm drinking vodka on the rocks, which is my favorite drink.
Hey.
And, so your next question is probably what kind of vodka, I would suspect.
I was. I mean, You're in Texas, so that's naturally my next question.
Well, it should be, to follow the Texas tradition, it should be Tito's, which is a very good vodka. But this is Russian Standard Platinum, which is my favorite.
Very nice. Okay.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Pinot Grigio out of a cereal bowl, as you can see.
I like the size of that. So now yeah. I'm not ashamed any longer.
Yeah, so. It's a little aggressive, but it's Thursday, so I feel like it's warranted a little bit. Now, John, I wanted to launch right into a couple of things. You have quite the interesting story. For those of you watching, this is John has been with Logicalis since February, which, is probably kind of a trigger just because of what happened shortly following that. Quite a unique experience I think you've probably had here. COVID shortly hitting after you joined Logicalis in February. Being a new leader at a company is always a journey, and then a global pandemic hits and forces your entire workforce and your clients to go remote. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, everybody that takes over as CEO can't wait for a pandemic to hit to set the expectations, right? It was interesting. Candidly, a lot of times in our careers, we'll come across things where we've seen something like that before. So there'll be, in 2008, we had the financial implosion, and that recession, there's a real recession that followed that. And we knew how to adjust our companies. We knew what we needed to do to basically anticipate a downturn in a real recession. The difference in this one was it really wasn't a recession. It was a shutdown. And so none of us really had in our portfolio experience to draw on to really understand kind of what we needed to do and where we needed to go. And so there was a time of just trying to get our feet underneath us and really understand what's in front of us, right? So we did a couple of things that I think were pretty unique. Well, unique is probably a stretch, but I thought it was the right
unique
thing
to
at
you,
the time.
Yeah,
unique at the time, and that was it was really impossible to forecast kind of what was going to happen to IT budgets. It was impossible to really anticipate how the spend was going to go. What does a shutdown mean? We just didn't really have the data to make any strong decisions. And so what we did is we put what I dubbed as our circuit breaker plan in place. And so we quickly pulled the team together, and it was really a what if scenario. So what if we experience this kind of degradation in business? What if we experience, 10%, 15%, 20%? It was almost a circuit breaker kind of approach. And so we put moves within the organization, changes in the organization that we would implement candidly if those things happen. And the thesis was, one, we're only as good as our people. We don't know what each month is going to mean, but we want to keep our people. And we wanted to really create a culture in Logicalis that basically said people first. And so it's one thing to lay somebody off in a 3% unemployment economy. It's completely different in a 15% unemployment economy, And so we wanted to be human first in that, but still be able to run a unique business and run our business in the sense, at least keeping our cash flow positive, keeping the business healthy. And so our aspiration going into it with our circuit breaker plan was, we don't want to lay anybody off. We don't want to furlough anybody, and we're going to do the best we can not to impact their base pay. So my leadership team, they agreed, which it was completely voluntary. They agreed to take a 20% discount in their base pay, which I was really proud of them for doing that. And so then we just kind of settled in to see what's going to happen, right? And so March came in kind of relatively weak, since it was really the second half of March. It wasn't as weak as we thought it would be, but it came in a little lighter. Yeah. April and May looked tough, and so we implemented our first circuit breaker. But again, we didn't furlough anyone. We kept our employees. We kept their base pay in place. I was really proud of that. In fact, we've been able to come through it now without really furloughing anybody. And so we're preparing now for our second half and kind of getting back to a normal environment, as much as normal as it can be. I mean, we're still working from home, and we don't really know when that's going to end, but you get the idea. So COVID for me, certainly, one, it created a lot of challenge, but it also gave us an opportunity as a leadership team and a new CEO to gel, to really lead through an opportunity versus just kind of doing the same old, right?
And trenches together, essentially.
Yeah. So after that, I had to take a drink. So.
Yeah. Yep. Cheers. Well, that's really interesting. So you really have weathered this, with the rest of your company kind of at the same time. I mean, so the approach you took really kind of kept people, all right, let's prepare for this as much as we can, but contingency plan, sort of like if this were to happen. And look, no one can predict or plan what's gonna, I mean, we still can't, we're still in the thick of this, and there's so much unknown, and you just gotta.
Yeah. The challenge going into the second half is we're really now beginning to experience the shift in IT organizations and what they're going to do in light of COVID. So they're making now COVID-oriented decisions, not necessarily finishing and finalizing the projects that they'd had prior to COVID. So we're seeing a shift in the industry a little bit at this point.
Yeah. I mean, you could make the argument, that yes, the coronavirus is a tangible disruption, but the channel has kind of been facing that transformation and change for some time now.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Well, yeah. So, for example, we've been talking about collaboration and productivity around the remote workforce and the mobile workforce. We've been talking about that for years, right? And in a series of about 2 weeks worth of decisions, that instantly became a reality, right? And so, and we've learned so much, honestly. We've learned so much in the last 4 months around, what it's like to run an organization remotely. Things that we really didn't even think about. So, like there's a fatigue that is different in long meetings on video conference versus being in the room. The way you operate a meeting and the cadence that you have to work with people, all these things were just instantly developed and slammed on the industry, candidly, in a real short period of time. And so you have, companies like Microsoft looking at different ways of displaying people on the screen. We would have never thought of those things had it not been for COVID. So it just completely accelerated the remote workplace. We've learned also that not only that work at home environment, but the work at home environment impact on employees. And so it's changing the way IT organizations are viewing how to get work done. What does productivity look like? The path to the cloud is accelerating in astronomical ways. So really what has happened is this COVID shutdown has just accelerated the technology. As you said, we've been working on it for years, and now it's just completely accelerated.
Yeah. Well, I remember having conversations before all this hit, in terms of the cloud, has been kind of a shift for anyone, but the cloud, security, all of these different technologies, people have just kind of it's been a gradual thing, or just mind-numbingly slow, especially in terms of security. I used to write about security quite a bit. That was my beat, and it just every week it was just like, well, guys, someone got hacked again. If they'd only done X, Y, and Z, it's just like, why? How are they not doing that yet?
Yeah.
now, especially with, this remote work, like that has been something that's kind of hit people in the face. And it's just like about friggin' time, it's like, and as with all the rest of this too. I think that's a really good point. Yeah. But
it's funny to even like double click on security for a minute, right?
by all means.
So we've thought about security as a perimeter defense, right? Even your biggest security breach exposure is people.
Right.
Well, now they're distributed, right? And now they're on public networks, and now their devices are moving all over the place. And so security has radically changed in the midst of all of this. And think about this: if you were just to continue with that thread, think about this. If you were an organization that was a work from the office organization consistently, you had a infrastructure, these aging old infrastructures that worked for you because everything went back to the data center in one form or another.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you have this mobile workforce who you're moving away from the data center into the cloud, and they're completely changing the dynamics of your environment, your network environment, and accelerating things like SD-WAN and all of those things that are going on. And so I'm telling you, our customers, the IT decision makers that are in front of us, they have been instantly introduced to a rapid changing environment. And, you think IT moves really fast anyways. It has accelerated beyond imagination at this point. So
warp speed now.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things we did, we instantly, I'm going to use that word way too much. I almost should have like a swear jar for instant. Right?
Start beeping.
Yeah. But, one of the things we did was we said, okay, let's not play defense, let's play offense. What do our customers need right now in the middle of this? And so we put together, was amazed how fast the team adapted to this, but we put together these rapid response services, things like securing the remote workforce and all those types of things that, working remotely introduces into the environment, which was really, really well received. But it's just, again, it's proof to the point that the way we in the channel are going to have to shift going forward. We're going to have to change our services. We're going to have to change our offerings. We're going to have to adapt quickly to their environment. And we're going to have to recognize that the way we used to do things is really going to shift and change.
Absolutely. Yeah. So actually, just to jump off on that, just to pivot a bit, what do you guys have anything, does Logicalis have anything coming out or coming up, that you can only plan so far in an environment like this, in a time like this, but do you guys have any, major announcements or things that you guys are trying to pivot toward yet this year?
Yeah, so not so much an announcement. I don't want to give any of my competition an idea here, but
Want that.
No, but one of the things that we've been very much involved in the last several weeks is our Q2, or I'm sorry, our second half planning, as I said earlier. And one of the things that's become very clear to me is if you look at kind of the 1.0 partner, the 1.0 channel partner, we've been very regionally focused. So resources in region, sales organization in region, comp plans around region performance. It's a geo play. And so for the last several months, we've been talking internally about, is that the way we're going to do business going forward? Should we maybe rethink the way we do business going forward? An interesting statistic, post-COVID, my professional service has not dropped off at all. By the way, I thought it would. I thought it would drop significantly. You think I can't go to their location, I can't do my professional services work, but it in fact has gotten stronger. And what we
thinking
completely different, right? It's better to be lucky than good sometimes. If you would have asked me March 15th, I would have said our PS is going to drop off the map.
Right.
But what has happened?
Out of your ears.
Say again.
As your brain melts out your ears.
Yeah, it was not okay, right? It's my one product that I own, and it's going away, right? But what's been interesting is 75% of my PS work now is done over the wire.
Okay.
Think about that. So now what I like about that is, okay, well, that's a shift in an expectation That also now allows me to deliver pro services regardless of my density in market. So if you think about it, I used to be organized in this regional kind of model from a professional services, pre-sales oriented kind of approach.
Right.
And now I have a national reach with this bench and this platform in a different format. And so we're reorganizing into what I call a post-COVID model, to where we're really aligning, really it's a drivetrain through our entire organization around capabilities versus regional space. And so I think it's going to really, it's going to allow us to address new markets with our best possible resources in place. And two, I think it's going to empower my salespeople who maybe have been relying on a smaller bench of resource to really reach a deeper bench and be able to go to market faster. So we're pretty excited about that approach.
Right.
I would say this, the people are the only thing that differentiates us. And creating an environment that is fair to our people, that is sensitive to our people. That doesn't mean that we don't work hard. That doesn't mean we don't do the difficult things. But an environment that fosters and encourages partnership, an environment that begins with a yes attitude, an environment that encourages the breakdown of silos is crucial. That's I think that's the new world, and that's the world I want to be in. And I think that we at Logicalis are doing that, and we're working really hard at making that happen.
John, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today, and drink with me today. And
cheers.
Cheers. This has been It's 501 Somewhere. Thanks guys.